Elena first met Daniel Carter at church. She was 35 years old while Daniel was 42. He lived with his elderly mother in a modest house on the east side of town. Meanwhile, Elena resided in a small apartment with her younger sister, Mia, and their ailing father, Robert. Due to her father's illness, Elena dedicated most of her time to taking care of him, rarely stepping out unless Mia was home to take over. The two sisters couldn't have been more different. Elena was petite, with a round face and short black hair, while Mia, 10 years younger, had long brown hair, an enviable figure, and a sun-kissed glow. People often remarked on Mia's beauty, and there was never a shortage of admirers eager to take her out for dinner or a movie. Elena, however, always stayed home. Mia worked at a clothing store in town, and when she wasn't working, she loved lounging on their apartment's rooftop garden. It was on a bright Sunday in June that Elena first invited Daniel home to meet her father. She led him into the dimly lit bedroom where Robert lay in bed. His once dark hair had turned completely white, and his pale complexion reflected his fragile health. He spent most of his days either watching television or staring out the window. "This is Daniel, Dad," Elena introduced with a soft smile. "He works at the hospital and we met at church. I mentioned him last week. Do you remember?" Robert barely acknowledged Daniel. He gave a disinterested glance before turning his gaze back to the television. He had long since stopped investing in new friendships or caring about his daughter's social lives. Just then, Mia entered the room, dressed in a black bikini and white sandals. Flashing a confident smile, she turned her attention to Daniel. "So, you're Daniel," she said teasingly. "Looks like my big sister finally has a boyfriend." Daniel's face turned red as he awkwardly looked down at his feet. Mia chuckled at his reaction. "Come up to the rooftop and have some wine," she invited. "The sun is wonderful today." Elena shot her sister a glare but then sighed. "I need to get Dad some water anyway." "Go ahead, Daniel. I'll be up in a minute." On the rooftop, Daniel took off his jacket, feeling the warmth of the sun. The space was cozy. 2 chairs, a sun umbrella, a lounge chair, and a small table with a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. Flower boxes lined the low walls, giving the place a touch of charm. "It's nice up here," Daniel remarked. Mia smiled. "We don't get many handsome visitors. Have a seat, relax." Daniel hesitated before sitting down. He struggled not to stare at Mia's long, tanned legs, but it wasn't easy. "I spend most of my time up here when the sun is out," Mia continued, applying suntan oil to her arms and legs. Daniel swallowed hard, trying to look away. Moments later, Elena joined them, and the 3 sat under the sun, sipping wine. Elena gazed at Daniel, admiration clear in her eyes. Mia, however, observed them both closely, a small, knowing smile playing on her lips. Chapter 2: A Growing Connection. From that day on, every Sunday morning after church, Elena brought Daniel home for a glass of wine. Each time, as Daniel parked his car outside their building, Elena would instruct him, "Honk the horn. That way Mia knows we're here, and she can get the wine ready." Like clockwork, Mia would appear on the rooftop, waving down at them before heading inside to fetch the wine. She always wore either a bikini or a short skirt, styles Elena never dared to wear. "My legs aren't made for bikinis," she once told Daniel. "I think your legs are lovely," he replied shyly, making Elena blush. One warm afternoon in July, Mia turned to Daniel with a question. "What time do you finish work?" "Around 6, he answered. "Could you give me a ride home sometime?" she asked casually. "My shop is near the hospital, and you pass by anyway." Elena, sensing something, quickly interjected. "There's a bus that stops right outside our building." "The bus is slow," Mia said, pouting slightly. "Please, Daniel." Daniel hesitated, looking between the 2 sisters. Sure. I suppose I can." Elena pressed her lips together, watching the subtle smile on Mia's face. Something about it made her uneasy, though she couldn't quite place why. Chapter 3: Betrayal and Revenge. Mia gave Daniel a quick kiss on the cheek as she got into his car. From then on, he drove her home every evening. On the first Friday, they arrived home an hour late. Elena stood by the apartment door, her arms crossed. "What happened? Why are you so late?" she asked. "There was an accident," Mia replied quickly. Traffic was completely stuck. Daniel remained silent. That summer was particularly hot. Every Sunday, Elena went to church while Mia stayed home with their father. On sunny days, Mia lounged on the rooftop in her bikini, soaking up the sun, while Elena preferred sitting in the shade. One day, Elena returned home earlier than expected and heard voices from the rooftop. She crept closer and listened. "I feel bad about this," Daniel murmured. "We need to tell Elena." "No, not yet," Mia whispered. "Just a little longer." Elena's heart pounded. "You love me, don't you?" Mia asked. "You know I do," Daniel admitted. Mia kissed him. "Then it's our little secret." Elena stepped back, her mind spinning. A surge of cold fury rushed through her veins. If Mia thought she could take everything from her, she was wrong. Very wrong. The next morning, while Mia was inside with their father, Elena went to the rooftop. She found Mia's bottle of suntan oil and poured extra onto the edges of the stone tiles near the railing. She watched the sun slowly dry the oil, leaving behind a slick, invisible layer. That afternoon, as usual, Mia ran up to the wall to wave at Daniel when he honked. She stood on tiptoes, flashing her perfect smile. But as she leaned forward, her feet slipped. She gasped, flailing for the edge, but her fingers slid uselessly on the oiled surface. In a horrifying second, she toppled over, her scream swallowed by the rushing wind. Elena didn't move. She heard the sickening thud below. A moment later, Daniel's anguished cry pierced the air. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Now he's mine."